We would find people who need help saving their house from foreclosure. We would reinstate their mortgage, take over their existing payment, pay off some high interest credit card debt, keep them in the house for 12 to 24 months. They would refinance the property, and we would make our profit and rinse and repeat. That's what we would do. And the reason I loved it is because we already had the tenant in place.
Welcome to Trial to Triumph, hosted by Caleb Johnson, the show about leaning into life's constant testing on your way to realizing your biggest blessings.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Caleb Johnson, host of From Trial to Triumph, and today I'm very excited to have Eric Sage on the show. Eric, welcome.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. I know we've ran into each other quite a bit in the multifamily world in the Phoenix, Arizona market for probably, the past couple of years. And so now you have an amazing podcast, and thanks for having me on. This is cool. Love to be a part of it.
Great, man. Yeah, thanks for being here. So can you give our listeners just a background synopsis of yourself?
Yeah, so I'll give you guys a little, what is the origin story, a little background behind me. I grew up in a small town in Yuma, Arizona, and currently live here in Phoenix. I'm married, I have two wonderful children, and right now, if you want a little bit of background on how I got into the real estate business. Went to the University of Arizona, graduated, didn't use my degree for anything, became a professional golfer. I was blessed to be able to use that talent and travel the world and do some cool stuff. But in the back of my mind, I was always trying to make money. I was never focused on being I was like a horse, right? So I was always like playing golf, and I had great sponsors, but I was in the back of my mind, I was always like trying to make money. I was always trying to make money, do different things rather than focus on the one thing, right? And so I ended up retiring just because I wasn't able to make enough money doing that profession, and it was a blessing because I was able to travel and meet a lot of really amazing people, and my golf game, being basically a scratch golfer, meaning I'm pretty good at it, basically changed my life because it's the people that I met and the network that I was around in order to get where I am today. So fast forward, I got my first job in corporate America. I was an elevator salesman. 6 years later, I became a diaper salesman. I focused on, went from elevator salesman to diaper salesman, and I was focusing on my main diaper clientele was retirement homes. So retirement communities is where I'd go, and our biggest product, I'd sell them everything that they needed in their central supply room to actually, from gauze pads to ointments to diapers, but diapers seem to be one of our biggest things. So I did that, and then the interesting part of that is when I started getting into the medical distribution business, working for a big corporation, I started dabbling in real estate. And so one of my buddies that I traveled with in the golfing business, or when I was golfing, mentioned pre-foreclosures. So he says, hey, you can go on the internet and find pre-foreclosures. You can find people that are behind on their mortgages. You can go meet with them and see if you can help them out. And so I was like, yeah, I can do that. So from like 8 in the morning till 3 o'clock, I would work in my day job, and then I'd go pull a list and door knock. And so this particular deal, okay, we're in 2022 right now. Like literally on your cell phone right here, you can find lists for anything and everything anywhere you can dial them, you can text them, you can do whatever. We didn't have that luxury back in 2004 when I originally got into the business. So I've been full-time in the business. So I at the end of 2004 is when I went full-time. But anyway, fast forward, I door knocked my very first deal, and it was a house in Tempe, Arizona. I go up to the door, I knock on the door. It said on my list that I didn't even know if it was accurate or not. In fact, I didn't even know what a pre-foreclosure was at that point. I didn't know anything. Honestly, I just knew it seemed like this person had a problem and I was going to help them solve it. So I door knock the house. The door opens up. Picture the largest lineman in the NFL that you could ever imagine answer the door. So this huge guy answers the door, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, hey, my name's Eric, and I think your house is going to foreclosure in a couple days, and is there anything I can do to help you? And the guy's last name was Wilson, Mr. Wilson. And I said, he goes, no, man, we got it taken care of, and slammed the door in my face. I'm like, okay, that's pretty standard response when you door knock people that are in distress, right? And so I go back to my car, didn't have cards. I didn't have anything. Like really, I mean, other than tore off a piece of paper, put my name and phone number on it, went back, door knocked again. I was pretty ambitious at the time. I wasn't afraid of anything. Plus, I had a job. I mean, I was like, whatever. If this something works, it's great. If it works, great. If not, it's okay. Sure enough, he opens the door again. I said, hey, man, if something changes, here's my phone number. Give me a shout. He goes, okay. See you later. Slams the door in my face again. Okay. Sure enough, a few hours later, his wife calls me and says, hey, Eric, yes, our house is going to foreclosure. We went into bankruptcy, and our bankruptcy got discharged, and our house is going to foreclosure. And it was a 3-day weekend. This was a Friday. So the following Tuesday, the house was going to auction. So I go, yeah, well, when would you like to meet? I can help you. And which I did. Honestly, I couldn't. I didn't know anything. All I knew is I think there was an opportunity to buy this house. So we set up an appointment for the following day at 1:00. And obviously, where I'm telling you this story is because it changed my life. Like where I'm at today is because of that time, that exact time and moment of what I did. And so anyway, I called my realtor that sold me my first investment property that I paid retail for, that didn't cash flow, that, it was just, I had my primary residence in a rental property. I wasn't making any money. And, but I owned it. And so, eventually it would pay off in 30 years and I would have a free and clear house that's paying me $2,000 a month or whatever. Right. So, which is what the typical buy and hold investor teaches you if you're going to go buy single family homes. Now you guys know a little bit more because you're a multifamily guy. So anyway, sure enough, I call my realtor and I go, hey man, I got this house, whatever. And he goes, yeah, I'm a real estate agent. I don't know what foreclosures are. I don't deal with that. I deal with people that sell their house retail that have equity and I get commission. I'm like, okay. He goes, yeah, but remember our buddy Marty? And I said, yeah, Marty. Yeah. I go, yeah, it's funny. I just golfed with him at a wedding 3 weeks ago. So I called Marty and I go, hey, Marty, I got this house in Tempe, blah, blah, blah. I gave him the address and he goes, dude, how did you get a meeting with them? I've been door knocking them for 1.5 years. I go, well, I don't know, but it's time. They're ready to help. They're ready for help. So my mentor, okay, which we'll go forward here in a minute. He goes, yeah, dude, let's go. I go, well, I got an appointment tomorrow at 1:00. Can you make it? He goes, absolutely, I can make it. This is fantastic. So we went, we sat down with him. And back then, what we used to do is we would find people who need help saving their house from foreclosure. We would reinstate their mortgage, take over their existing payment, pay off some high interest credit card debt, keep them in the house for 12 to 24 months. They would refinance the property. And we would make our profit and rinse and repeat. That's what we would do. And the reason I loved it is because we already had the tenant in place. We didn't. But nowadays, you would never, ever, and I would say maybe most people nowadays would never keep that tenant in place anymore. It's a hassle. There's liability, whatever. Fortunately for us, we did the right things. We took care of the people. We weren't equity stripping them. We were actually trying to do the right things. And we did. And we did the right things for a lot of people. And so the cool part is, the funny part is we sit down with them, we get all the paperwork, we get the reinstatement amount, which the reinstatement amount is how many months they're behind. Well, keep in mind, they were in foreclosure. They were in bankruptcy and foreclosure. So they kept kicking the can down the road. They owed $58,000 on Tuesday at the courthouse steps at 1:00 or whatever the opening bid time was. So I'm just sitting there going through the paperwork, talking with my mentor. He's going through the deal, and then he's done tons of these things, and it's no big deal, and he's got them on board, and everything's great. And our security was the deed to the property to get them out of foreclosure, and then we'd give them an option to buy it back. So that's how our process worked. And typically, what we would do is whatever it cost us, we would double our money, and then we would do our deal. So the returns were great. We didn't take all their equity. We charged them basically a fee, and then they'd buy it back. So sure enough, I'm sitting there, we leave. I'm like, shit, man, how the hell are you going to come up with $58,000? I mean, we got a 3-day weekend going on here. Like, do you have just like that much cash just laying around? I mean, a few years ago, you were the cameraman for, Channel 3 News. And now all of a sudden you got 58 grand just sitting around. Like, how are we going to do this? He's like, don't worry about it. I got to figure it out. So sure enough, we get the reinstatement numbers. We go get a cashier's check. Monday morning, guess what happens? His wife goes into labor with his second daughter.
Wait, so Marty or the guy you're buying the house from?
No, my mentor, Marty. So Marty's daughter. And here's the funniest thing, dude. I'm not a huge Facebook guy, but I was on Facebook a few weeks ago. Yeah, because it's summer of August 2022 when this is we're talking here. And his daughter was starting her senior year of high school. Her name's Audrey. This is so funny. I wasn't planning on talking about this. It was really cool. So anyway, so sure enough, she goes into labor. He has his daughter. We're on the call with the banks trying to get the reinstatement amounts. He's got to go get a cashier's check. It's a cashier's check. He drives me down to the front of the courthouse steps. Okay. And he goes, okay. He's in his little Honda. I'm in there. He goes, hey, okay, take this payment and take this check for $58,000. And then here's a TS number, trustee sale number. And then you'll walk up there and you'll give it to them and they'll give you a receipt and it's over. And I go, okay. So I roll up there and all these people are hovering around to buy this house because there was tons of equity, like 50% equity. Okay. And I roll up and I'm like, hey, I'm Eric. I'm here to pay off this TS number, whatever, and here's a check. And they give me a receipt. And they're like, okay, see you later. And I walk away and everybody's just standing there like, what the hell just happened? So then I go walk down, get down the front of the steps in the courthouse and drive away, And I'm like, well, that was cool. And so it was my first experience of a wholesale deal because I made $4,500 to do that deal by just handing it to them, right? So then I was like, okay, well, this is fantastic. How many more of these can I do? So I was very blessed to actually have my first deal work, right? But the best part, if we'll get to where I'm at today, but the best part about that entire transaction, okay, the best part is just recently I drove by that property. And I actually get emotional every time I say this. Guess who's still living in the house today? Same family. Yeah, they made it. They made it through the process. They were able to get their credit better. Everything that we did, we made a great profit on it. They got their home back. Now their house is probably worth, who knows, $800,000 or whatever now. I mean, the way the market is. And so that was kind of like, okay, this is, I'm helping really solve problems in my community. And so anyway, then I started getting, so what I would do is I would go to work from 10 to 2 on Saturdays because that's when people were home. And so I would door knock all the pre-foreclosures from 10 to 2 because that's when they were home. And, we're not texting and calling and none of that. I got a list of paperwork of like 10 houses. And if I made it to 3 and talked to one, that was an opportunity, right? And that's what I did. And so I made more money on my part-time real estate door knocking pre-foreclosure days in year one than I made in my real job. I made a lot. He was paying me these $4,500 assignment fees basically every week. And so, like after like my third deal, which was quick because I caught on fairly quickly and I had a great case study to share with whoever I talked to that I helped them out. Like I really am here. I'm not here to take your house. I'm here to help you. So anyway, so then he showed up in his C-Class Mercedes to take me to a meeting. And then the next time he shows up in a new AMG and I'm like, yeah, we're not driving a 200. This is my partner. Yeah, I'm making him all this money. And he's like, I go, dude, yeah, we're not driving your $250,000 Mercedes to the freaking thing. Why is it? Why do you feel like you have to do that? And he goes, it's funny. I went to go buy a house one time and the guy was like, you're just in this little Honda. You can't buy my house. You don't have the money to buy my house. And so he felt like he had to do that. So I don't know. Some people feel that way or the other. I mean, I still drive a pickup and do my thing. Cars aren't my thing. I like doing deals and stuff like that. But, so anyway, fast forward a year later, I made a bunch of money. I had my real job and my part-time job making more money. And my wife and I decided, we have money, we have retirement money. We can go do this on our own. And that's what we did. And we were very blessed to do a ton of business. And that's how I got started in real estate and how I've been doing this since 2004, pretty much full time. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, man, that is one killer story. And I really appreciate you going into depth like that.
Yeah.
And just for our listeners' understanding and mine as well, I want to understand just how that process works again. So the pre-foreclosure, can you high level just go from start to finish and how that actually works and how you're able to, I understand the assignment fees, but we can even touch on that, but just high level go over how that works again, please.
So what happens is if you don't make your mortgage payment, you have a house and you have a mortgage. Most people don't own their houses free and clear. Most people have mortgages. My goal after, once I started getting into the business was my goal is to have $10 million worth of debt and $20 million worth of real estate, right? Happens in the multifamily business all the time, maybe $13 million worth of real debt and $20 million, whatever. So anyway, if you don't make your payment, the lenders will take your house. That's how it works. They foreclose on you. And so there was a time in 2004, 5, 2000, I guess, 3, 4, 5, where it was pretty flat market. There wasn't a lot of education on what we did back then, like there is now. You can go on YouTube right now and figure out everything I just said probably in about 10 minutes. But people get behind. And what happens with people get behind on mortgages, and I think we're going to see kind of there's going to be an opportunity of that here in the near future. And I'll tell you what the opportunity is, the difference between then and now is, so if you get behind, a lot of people that I found, they don't want to talk to family and friends. They'll talk to a stranger and tell them and have them help them before they'll go to family and friends. And hopefully you find a stranger that's a real estate professional that'll actually help you and not, rip you off. And nowadays there's so much information online, even for the sellers, to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So if you get behind on your mortgage, let's say typically back in the day, people with $10, $15, $20,000 behind on their payments. So what we would do is we would get them current on their payment, keep their mortgage in place. It's called subject to the existing debt. Okay. Then what would happen is I would look at their debt to income and go, you know what, you got this $5,000 car loan at 24% interest. Why don't we pay that off too? So I'd come up with there was so much equity in these houses. So I'd come up with the amount of money to get their debt to income to where they could actually succeed. So I'd look at their finances and go, okay, if we do this, this, and this, I'll charge you this. You'll get you'll get good solid payments. Because back then, if you had 6 months of good solid payments and a heartbeat, you're refinancing your house. I mean, you might not even have been alive back then. I'm not sure how old you are, but that.
Let's not bring that up, Eric. Come on, get through this. Come on.
I'm old, you're young, and that's good. So anyway, so my point is, my point is, so we were able to reinstate their loans, keep their mortgage in place, make their mortgage payment every month, get their credit back to where it needed to be, refinance, pay us back our fee, and move on to the next deal. So that's kind of what we did. Here's what happened back then, though. We had pick-a payments back then. We had variable interest rates that started at 3 and then went to 7 or 8 or 9. And in today's market, I would say majority of every mortgage that was originated over the last probably 12, 15 years is one fixed mortgage, one fixed interest rate. So how many 3%, 4%, 30-year fixed mortgages are out there right now that we could get involved with? And so I think there's opportunities to help people now with that model. I believe that right now, people that have a 30-year fixed mortgage, that's one of their biggest assets, and they don't know it. And so they go sell their house and get rid of that 3 or 4% debt that they signed up for 3 or 4 years ago and go get a 6.5% interest rate in a new loan. So it's really important to find the right people that can help you monetize off that, which is what I do. That's what I do for a living. I teach people actually why that's so important. Some people partner with me. Some people just learn it from me. Some people do combination. So that's kind of how the foreclosure world works. I don't know if I answered the question correctly, but we would actually, back in the day, this was really funny, little tangent, is it got really competitive like it is now. And we had a couple websites that would notify us pre-foreclosure notice of default. So they will actually, if you miss your payment for 90 days or whatever, you will actually, the lender can start foreclosure. Okay. And then they have 90 more days to foreclosure in you in Arizona. Every state has a different rule, but basically after 90 days, they can foreclose on you. So what happens is there was guys out there that would go physically down to the courthouse and get the data before it was even in. And nowadays, all that stuff's so much faster than it was then. But it was like literally physically going down, and then they would put it in their database and they would send us an email and I would get a notice of default. So what I would do is the pre-notice of default list, I'd go meet with the seller and know, hey, you're behind. Can I help you in any way? Is there anything I can do to help solve your problem? And then I'd go before the notice of default or right at it. And then I would go probably 30 days prior to foreclosure. So that's kind of how we ran our business. And so that's what I did. But the cool part is I would show up to a house and then I would have 3 other people sitting in their cars behind me waiting to go knock on the door to talk to Mrs. Smith or whoever. And And then I would say, hey, Mrs. Smith, these other three people are going to try to do the same, talk to you about the same thing. We might as well just bring them in and we'll all have a conversation together, because I can promise you they're not buying your house. I am. I'm actually physically the guy that will give you the money to help solve your problem if this is what you need. So why don't we just all tell our stories together? And then I would leave with 2 or 3 of those guys to go door knock for me, because I pay more than their competitors. So that's how I actually got a lot of my team members to come in and help me out. So that was kind of fun.
Man. Yeah, and I think you did answer the question. And if anyone wants to do that, because it sounds like you don't need money to get into it. Maybe you bring in a mentor or you partner with someone that does have the funds for that. But if anyone has any more questions, you're the guy. So if you do have questions, we'll link Eric's just a place to reach out to Eric so you can get more information on that. But I want to talk about the most important thing that you've learned from that. So the first deal obviously sounds like it. I mean, that's such a cool story. What was the most important thing that you learned from that?
Well, so I've always been the type of person that, no matter from my golf career, from when I was a young kid to all the way to where I'm at today, I'm always finding people that know more than I do. And so I will say that there's no way I could have leveled up to and had the confidence to do what I'm doing now, and even then, without somebody that knew more than I did. So Marty obviously had a niche. He had a really good niche. He had the paperwork, he had the lists, he had the scripts, he had the money, how to get the money, how to buy them and exit them, and the title companies and all that stuff. Like, how the heck am I going to learn that? I didn't even know what a damn pre-foreclosure was at the time, right? So I learned very quickly. So what I tell people is, if you want to find a niche, which I'll tell you a little bit about more what we're doing now, as well as on the multifamily side, but find someone that knows what they're doing, that you I can trust, and bring them value. So what did I do? I was just handing him literally, after about the third meeting and not wanting to show up in the Mercedes, I would just go hand him contracts and say, hey, got another one. And he's like, holy shit, man. Like, this is great. He would just sit at his desk. Guess what he had? He had the reinstatement money to stop these foreclosures and solve the problems for the sellers, right? And so I was the guy that was just out there hustling and doing the deals. And then I figured out on my own, and then he and I, high-fived. I said, hey, I made you some money. You made me some money. I'm going to go out and do this on my own. And hopefully I can. And so, and I did, and I was very successful at it. And we all, we can talk about this in 2008, what happened, but I mean, it was, I guess what I would say is, just like you've done in your business, is you found people that are doing syndications and you're learning from them. Follow along, learn a little bit, and either follow along with them and be the master team member and get equity in deals, or go create your own. So that's kind of my advice is, learn. And nowadays, man, you can YouTube University this stuff, or you can go find a mentor and have accountability every week, which I do. I have a mentor, and I have somebody that keeps me accountable every week, every month, every year to get to where I want to go. And when life gets in the way, or challenges gets in the way, and my goals change, or the market changes, like we're seeing right now, you're able to have these high-level conversations to pivot, or do nothing. Sometimes, like in real estate, doing nothing is okay. Doing nothing is okay, and waiting for the right opportunity to come. So I don't know if that's a good answer to that question or not.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that a little bit, because I whenever you say doing nothing sometimes is okay, I think some people I just want to understand what you mean by that exactly, because I think some people, maybe myself even, could take that out of context and think, well, I'm just going to sit on my butt and eat chips, and Eric said we're all good. So
no, that's not. So that's not what I mean by that. What I mean by that is, sometimes in certain seasons of the market, going out and just buying a bunch of real estate when there could be a correction coming, just knowing that maybe sitting back for a little bit and waiting for the right time to pass. I'll be honest, right now, I've been waiting 10 years for the market to get to where it is right now. It's been so white hot. We have mortgages that have 30 years fixed mortgages in place with 3 and 4. I mean, I just got a deal today this morning that was sent to me I can take over payments at 3.75% for the next 29 years. Now, why would somebody let me do that? Well, there must be a problem in their life in order to do that. And then I have a solution for them as well, because if I'm going to make money and I'm able to take over payments from somebody and structure the deal correctly, I'm going to bring them along for the ride with me. That's what I do with my consumers that sell me assets that may or may not know what I know. And so that's what I'm doing. So I wouldn't say do nothing. Doing nothing means maybe not investing right now, but waiting for the right opportunity to invest. I mean, you know this. You invest in one multifamily deal, it'll change your life. I mean, it literally could change your life and your family's life forever by just making the right acquisition, the right value add, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So during that 10 years when the market was white hot and you were just waiting and holding back, what were you doing? Were you at a W-2 job, or what'd you do?
No, so okay, I'll give you kind of the history. So think about it. So 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, 08, 7, 08 crash happens. Okay, so I'm door knocking people with equity that need to help themselves out of pre-foreclosure. Well, there was no more equity, and I didn't know what I know now. Which there's so many properties that are free and clear in the world. I could have switched my model and just went to free and clear properties rather than pre-foreclosure properties. I knew one thing: door knock people in default, help them out of default, keep them in the house, get their credit back in place, refinance the house to pay back my money and my profit, and move the deal. That was all I knew. That was it. So I didn't have any creative ways and ideas. Now, as I was in the business, I started learning that fix and flipping, and some of these people just wanted the house gone, so they would just give me the property, and I would do it that way. But so as the market changed, I went to my wife, and my wife has been my business partner from day one. And I said, I'm not seeing a lot of equity in these deals. What are we going to do? I think there's going to be some people that are going to be upside down, and they're going to have a horrible, horrible problem. They're going to lose their houses. And what can we do? So what did I do? I pivoted, shifted, and started a loss mitigation company. So instead of door knocking for pre-foreclosures, I was talking to people that owed more than their house. They were doing short sales. So people that would owe $400,000 on their house, it's only worth $300,000. What do? Well, the banks are willing to take a settlement and move on to the next deal. So we started a loss mitigation company to settle their debt and move on. And what happened is the banks didn't know. We were so early in the game, it would take 6-8 months for someone to get a settlement on their debt. And so we were charging people up front. We had a staff. We had a whole bunch. We had 120 some properties in pre-foreclosure or in short sale at any given time. We had an office full of people. We were negotiating. We were making a little bit of money. Life was great. And then we got to the point where, like, you know what? These are pretty good deals. We're just going to buy all these. So we started buying all so we were negotiating the deals that we were buying. And so it ended up working out well. And we settled a lot of debt for a lot of people. I remember one guy that was like, man, I bought this house. I bought this lot for $1 million. I built a house for $1 million, and the house was going to be worth $3 million. That was the model. Well, he bought the lot for $1 million, built for $1 million, and now his house is worth $750. And he's a financial advisor. Okay. And I'll tell you that similar thing happened to me as well. So I owned a bunch of real estate during that time. So he said to me, Eric, he goes, I cannot have a foreclosure on my record because I'm a financial advisor. And if I do, I'll lose my job. That's how I support my family. And so I said, great. So we took the deal. We ended up getting him out of foreclosure, got a full settlement and release. And we got so many settlements and releases for people. It wasn't their, I'm not saying it was not their fault to keep not paying their bills, but it was such a rampant problem that people just needed out from underneath and a fresh start. And that's what we help people do. And then a lot of those deals, we ended up, when the market started leveling off, we started just buying those assets ourselves. Still, because the people that sold their houses short sale, they couldn't get any. They just needed out in a release, and that's what we ended up doing. But so I don't know if at the beginning of this call, my goal was to have $20 million worth of real estate at one point in my career and $10 million worth of debt. Well, I accomplished that goal, but then I had $10 million worth of real estate that was worth $5 million. Wait, $10 million worth of debt that was worth $5 million worth of real estate. So now I had a $5 million problem, right? And knowing what I know now, I should have held. Instead, I settled. There was a pretty dark time in my wife and our lives. We're like, shit, man, this is a problem. And so we already had our own settlement company, and we became a client of ourselves. And we ended up getting through it. We didn't file bankruptcy or anything. We helped a ton of people. And then we were able to recycle back and not really skip a beat for doing that. But it's just the cycle of real estate, right? And I've been blessed to be a part of it and never have to work for anyone since back then when it started.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to touch on was, even though you said the market kind of shifted for 10 years, it was white hot, that there's always an opportunity to help somebody and to be profitable, right? If you see something, in the last 5 years, the last 10 years has been white hot. And if you're seeing, I just can't make a profit here, there's always an opportunity to switch and do something differently. And I think you hit that right on the head.
Well, here's the thing. Real estate, the people that own real estate, there's tired landlords, there's death, divorce, and disease. People need to get rid of their assets. You have people that own real estate in Arizona and live out of state. You have family members. There's always opportunity to create cash flow for somebody or give people cash. And so there's there's always here's the way I look at it. There's always a crappy, stinky house, and there's always a crappy, stinky apartment building that needs value add. Okay. It just is what it is. And so if you have the ability to do it cheaper, faster, and more efficient than the average person that owns that house, you can make money. It's a pretty simple sales pitch for me. I'm Mrs. Seller or Mr. Seller. You have this house. You haven't renovated in 35 years. It needs this, and this. Would you be able to do it yourself? Yeah, I could. But here's what it's going to cost you. Here's what it's going to cost me. And here's how long it's going to take you. Here's how long it's going to take me. And here's how much money I'm going to make. And here's how much money you make. What do you want? You want your money now? Or you want now or later? Or do you want to stay in the deal and be my lender? There's so many things. And so people can get that. They're like, yeah, Eric's got a pretty good system there. I've never renovated a house in my life. I don't even know where to find granite, and so they can get that. Like, even with an apartment building that you have a tired landlord that's just like, I got this 26 units that I've been letting go forever, and I don't like tenants anymore, and and I've been collecting rent myself, and I'm ready to just move on. And so now with those opportunities, well, hey, wait a minute, you've been used to getting cash flow. How about just be the bank? How about just be my lender? I'll give you X, and you don't have to worry about the other 26 people paying you. You just get one payment every month. And you don't have to pay as much tax on it because we'll do an installment sale. And so you start talking through this, and people are like, oh my God, that's really smart. Like, so what? You're going to pay me 3, 4, 5% for the next 15 years or 10 years with a 10-year, whatever balloon. And I don't have to figure out where to go put all my money in the stock market and have all the volatility and stuff. People like predictable income secured to real estate. So that's kind of there's a million opportunities in the world, no matter what happens in our market right now.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
Yep.
You mentioned something earlier that was solving problems, and that especially the first story you told where you solved that gentleman and his wife's their problem. And first that makes you feel good because you're helping somebody. So, and plus you get paid, which is also good.
Yeah.
How are you solving problems now in your business?
Oh, so I will tell you that in the single family space, I don't like being a landlord. I'm not a huge fan of that. And so I found a niche where I could go find a house wholesale, meaning I can buy it at a discount. And then I can go do little to no rehab, and I can find a family that is unable to get traditional bank financing. Okay. And, but I'm able to lend them the money. And so what we do is we buy houses wholesale, we sell them on seller financing, we become the bank. And that's what we do with single family homes. What we have a really good niche is we buy a house wholesale, sell it retail. We get a 10, 15, 20% down payment. Then we create a first and second mortgage. We sell the first lien to recoup our existing costs. And then we have a second lien free and clear that we're getting close to 10% interest. And then we just rinse and repeat that over and over again. And so what we found is, it's public knowledge that majority of Americans rent because they have to rent, not because they want to rent. Americans anywhere in the world, they rent because they have to rent. And so, so what we found is there's a lot of people out there that are more than qualified to be homeowners. They have the down payment, they have the income. Maybe they're not from the U.S. Maybe they have an I-10 number, that's an identification tax ID number. They're paying income tax, but Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase Bank, they're not going to give them a bank loan. And so we will do that. And so we have groups of investors like ourselves that want to be the bank. So we're lien lords versus landlords. Okay. And so that's what we do in our single family world. And so we love, I'll give you an example of a family that I sold a house to. They've been working at a restaurant for, I don't know, years, 10 years. They had $28,000 that they saved up. They've been renting their whole lives, husband and wife. And so cool. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house that I sold them. I didn't do any rehab to it. They put $28,000 down. 2 weeks prior, they were tenants. 2 weeks later, they're homeowners. Okay. This is like, I think I just ran the numbers. I think it was about 55 months ago. Okay. So I'm getting my $1,500 a month or whatever the interest rate, the principal and interest payment was on this deal. And then you go drive by that house 6 months later. They turn the carport into another bedroom and a bathroom. They put a tile roof on it. You got landscape package on there that would cost me probably $50,000 to do. And all of a sudden they got this beautiful house and this pride of a home ownership. And so that wakes me up every day to get excited to go find homes that I can help people get home ownership to that traditionally wouldn't be able to. And then what do I do with that income? I go buy apartment buildings so I can offset the tax benefits and get the depreciation and things that go with it. So I love the cash flow from that. I can scale that business. I can run a note business, I could have 1,000 notes with one employee in a servicing company. That's it. But guess what? I don't have to pay. I don't have to pay taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy, repair, and everything else that you need to do as a landlord. And so I decided that's the model that I love to do. And so rather than get the tax benefits that being an owner, I do get payoffs from time to time. I do have some challenges, but majority of my borrowers that I create from scratch, find the house, find the borrower, create it from scratch with my team. Not a lot of effort going on there. Like literally, like I was talking to one of my friends today that want to invest with me. And I said, I can promise you I have a house, let's use this couple. Like if I spend 10 minutes a month on that one property, I'd be shocked because all I do is make sure they pay. Just comes in every month, nothing to do. And then if you guys, listen to this, go take a $200,000 mortgage at 10% interest and then and run it through an amortization schedule and see how much they owe you in 10 years. And you'll be shocked that I just did one. $210,000 in 10 years they owe me $190, but they've been paying me $1,800 a month for 120 months. So my appreciation is my amortization. So people go, well, you're not going to get any tax benefits and appreciation, all this great stuff of being an owner. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, for this particular asset class, no, but my amortization will probably offset any appreciation, in my opinion. And even during the last 5-year run or 7-year run, my appreciation, my amortization and interest that I've been making, it's not like equal to the appreciation that these houses had, but I didn't have to do any rehab. I didn't have any vacancies. There's really not a lot going on. And I have systems, and people always ask me, well, what happens if they don't pay? Well, guess what? I get first right of refusal to buy the house. That's how I structure it. So I'm the buyer. So I'll just go buy the house back. If there's equity, I'll give them some of their money back, rinse and repeat, go back. And I already have 70% of the market needs bank financing that can't get it. So I have 70% of the market. And then if you go online, go to Zillow and search for a seller finance house, single family. 5% would be high. So now I have 5% of the market is selling on seller financing and 70% of the market needs financing. So do you think I have a supply and demand benefit there? I do. So that's my little niche that I'm into right now, and I love it. It's duplicatable, it's scalable, and I can do it forever, and I enjoy it.
That's awesome. And I just can't get over how you position your deals and how smart you are and methodical on that. And I wish we could talk longer, but I think we should start wrapping this up. So, yeah. Eric, I'll ask you 3 questions. The first being, if you could recommend a book to our listeners, what would that be?
Great question. I will say I don't have books. I'm not a reader. That's not true. I have lots of books. I don't like to read. I like Audible, and I love podcasts. So where I'm at in life right now is I go onto a lot of business podcasts. I used to have my own. I put it aside a little bit because I was just investing. But the answer to that is I love all the content that's out there. I'm a huge geek on personal development and exercise and mindset and meditation and just business in general, on how to run and manage and be a good steward to people that work with me and the people that I work with. And so, one of the things that I learned, I think I learned this from one of the pastors is, I meditate every day. I give gratitude every morning. And then I pray for the people that I'm going to be around that day, or even that I don't know I'm going to be around that day. Just the people that are going to come in. And I always, one of the things that a lot of people I don't hear do is ask for abundance, ask for amazing things to happen to you that day, amazing amount of money to come into your life, amazing things that happen to your kids and your wife and your parents and the people like you that, I prayed for you today, knowing that we were going to have this podcast and all this great stuff. And so once you do that, your mindset goes, okay, this is going to be a pretty good day, man. It only takes a few minutes. Sometimes I fall asleep during it. But I'm really good at it. And I haven't probably not done gratitude prayers and abundant mindset probably in 10 years. Every day I do it. It's just awesome. Part of my routine.
You got to be, just show some gratitude and your mind just shifts and you're a happier person. And I've experienced that too. That's amazing.
Yep.
If people want to learn more about you, where's the best place for them to do that at?
Yeah. So I have a private Facebook group. It's called Creative Deal Maker. So if you go to Facebook, put Creative Deal Maker in there, it's going to ask you for a couple questions, probably ask you for your name, phone number, email. That'll get you into the private Facebook group. There's about 4,200 people in there now. It's growing like crazy. And we talk about the stuff that we just had this conversation with. That's what we do. We got a lot of great people in that community, and we share our deals. And then I also do a weekly deal or no deal every Mondays, and we kind of switch around, but we try to stick to Mondays. And we just talk about our business, how we find houses that we can get cash now, cash flow, cash later. I don't know if I went into the details, but when I buy a house wholesale, I get, just because of my financial position, I can either pay cash or get 100% financing. Then I'll go sell it to somebody on terms. And then I create a note, first and second, pay off the deal. And so I literally and then sometimes I make a little bit of spread depending on the down payment because I'm not doing any rehab. So I'll typically get $5,000 to $10,000 in upfront cash. Then it's kind of like the multifamily model, but I get it now versus waiting for the refinance. and so I get a little bit, $5,000 to $10,000 cash up front. And then I get monthly cash flow from that second lien that I created. And then eventually if there's a payoff or a refinance or whatever, I'll get a lump sum payout. And so, and I don't owe anyone any money. Like when I pay off my underlying debt or my costs, I don't owe anyone any money. So I have a free and clear second lien. So that's the type of stuff that we talk about in our Facebook group and then on our weekly calls. Obviously you can see here, creativedealmaker.com. We have a little digital product that you can buy. It's super cheap. But I like people we priced it that way because we want people to actually buy it so they actually understand it and they get the basics around it. So then when they bring us notes because we want to buy your notes, like that's kind of the selfish thing. We wanted you to learn how to create perfect paper so we can buy it from you and you can rinse and repeat and do the same thing we do. So that's kind of where to find me.
Yeah, that's great. If you can share with our listeners one thing to take away from today's show, what would that be?
Well, go back to the beginning of what we talked about. I find people that are, I don't want to say smarter than you, but people that know, find a niche, things that you want to learn about. I mean, for me, if it's golf or fitness or mindset or real estate or multifamily and notes or whatever, find people in that niche that you feel like you want to be, model, okay? And then provide them value. And if you have to pay them for the value, that's fine too. And then it's the best investment ever if somebody can take 10, 15 years out of their time, out of their knowledge and expertise and mistakes, which is what I've done, and give it to you in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes or a month, that's what I would say. And that's how I made it to where I'm at today. Like, I'm very blessed to be where I'm at today. pretty much financially free. I don't have to wake up on Monday and do my KPIs and do deals if I don't want to. I love this. I love doing this stuff with you. You can tell I love sharing what I do and helping other people, get some financial freedom and the ability to travel the world and do whatever they want to do, or help a family member or pay for college or whatever. And that's what I've been able to do with the real estate. So short answer is find someone that knows what they're doing, get around them and learn what they do, and then go do it yourself or partner with them. That would be my takeaway.
Mm-hmm. I think this show was just gold, and everything you shared with us, and I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm hyped after this call. So, Eric, really appreciate your time, brother, for tuning in with us and just sharing all your knowledge.
Yeah, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Talk soon. Everybody, take care, and see you next time.
It's time to grab your victory. Find us on the web at redseacapitalgroup.com and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Red Sea Capital Group.